Welcome to Chok Muay Chats episode 27. If you could like, subscribe and share this amongst your friends, it'll be available on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Joe Comerford, content creator and juiced up Muay Thai nerd. I'm here with two very special guests today, Ali McOnie, Muay Thai commentator and professional fighter, and I would say female ambassador of the sport, Dori Duncan from Australia. Welcome, everyone, and welcome for thank you for being on here.
No worries, thanks for having me on, mate.
Yeah, sorry about
Having us on.
Having us on, sorry. Pronouns, forgot the pronouns.
All right, so we were talking about before when we were going to start this podcast about topics. So the first one I wanted to talk about was influencer Muay Thai. Of course, in the world of combat sports, over the last couple of years, we've seen a rise in influencer boxing with DAZN and Misfits boxing, like the likes of Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Do you think Muay Thai could benefit from influencer boxing?
Me first.
You.
The thing is with doing it for Western boxing, you've only really got one thing to focus on. You've got to focus on, just boxing itself. But whereas for Muay Thai, it's something, if you're an influencer, you've never done Muay Thai before and you want to walk into a gym and then fight in 8 weeks, all three of us know that's not really that possible. At like the grassroots levels in Muay Thai, especially in Thailand, you hear it all the time about Thais that had their first fight in 4 weeks, but against a Thai that also was having their first fight in 4 weeks, and they were kids, so that they're not completely developed. They don't have that kind of like fear and everything. I feel like influencer boxing for Muay Thai. Yeah, mate, it depends on the influencer. It depends what they've done, whether they've done like a previous martial art or like whether they're fairly fit. But there's a lot to learn in a short space of time to then go in and have a professional Muay Thai fight.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly good point. I mean, when we look at Muay Thai as a sport, the grassroots level is probably the most important aspect. I remember I had Noporojon, and he was talking about, how do we look after a building? You look after its foundations, and the grassroots level is one of the most important aspects of it. I mean, you're fairly involved in the grassroots level of it in Australia, especially the female aspect of it.
Yeah.
Do you think like an influencer, but perhaps if I take some of the creators in the Bangkok scene as an example, there's a few of them who are currently training Muay Thai, and maybe they've perhaps trained a couple of years, but they haven't they've not had any fights. Do you think they could jump in an amateur level and promote it as like the next big thing?
Honestly, I think it's better if influencer fights influencer. I don't really agree with like influencer fighting an amateur, like someone who's trained as an amateur fighter consistently, just because I think there's a discrepancy there in the training. So I think, influencer fighting influencer is entertaining because there's that common ground of skill. Whereas even though the other person might be an amateur fighter or not as experienced, they're probably still going to have a little bit more ring craft or just a little bit more training background than like a crammed 6-week camp that influencer might have. I personally think, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because at the moment, you work with Peter Denman and, I've worked with Peter Denman as well. I wouldn't call him an influencer. I mean, he's fought on Thai Fight and, he's been involved in the boxing scene for a long time. And I'm not sure how many fights he's had, but at the moment, he's been doing this body shot challenge, right? And Peter's an interesting guy. He's Luk Krung, which means, for those viewing at home, means you're half Thai like Dory. And he was on a lot of the Lacorn series. I can't remember what channel was it, Channel 3 or I'm not sure what it was.
Sure, man.
But he was an actor there for a while. But he's probably one of the more present MCs in combat sports in Thailand that's actually lived the sport. And I would say, would you consider him an influencer if he were to have a fight? Because personally, I probably wouldn't, even though he's had that background in acting and that sort of stuff. He's still active in combat sports and has had boxing fights. He's had he's had Muay Thai fights on Thai Fight. He's about to fight on RWS against I'm not sure it's a Portuguese fighter or a Brazilian fighter, but the guy has had about 40 fights and he's at a decent level. Would you consider somebody like that who maybe like an outside observer might see Peter as an influencer, but personally, like we know what the fight game's like. I probably wouldn't. What do you think about that?
Absolutely not. I think Peter knows so much about boxing. He is a fan of Western boxing and Muay Thai. You know, he's got his own gym I think it's in Salaya, like that kind of part of Bangkok, like just on the outskirts of Nakhon Pathom. Like he absolutely loves the sport. Just the facts. I think the thing with him is obviously, like you said, he did a lot of acting, so he's incredibly famous. I mean, Samart Payakaroon did his Muay Thai career, then he started doing acting, whereas Peter's done it the other way around. So the problem is there's so much attention on every single fight that he has. He can't just do what we do and like go to a Nan what show, like a temple show, and just have a couple of fights. He can't do it that way. He's got to go. That's why he had one of his fights on Thai Fight. You know, he brings so many eyes to the sport. But I don't know if you guys know this, but Peter's actually also doing this fight on RWS because he just lost his dog. His dog got kidnapped or something happened to his dog, and it's completely wrecked him, man. Like I worked on a show with him and our mate Jimmy Bow.
Yeah.
And he's a great MC, but he was so off, man. He was so off, and I worked with him last Thursday. He was back on, dialed in, delivered a great show, was a great MC. I was like, man, like looking forward to your fight in RWS, probably going to come and support you. He's like, great, bro. All of my whole fight purse is going to go to a stray dog charity. So I think there's a reason why he's getting back in there and he's doing it. And why not, man? Like he's a good ambassador for the sport. He's such a great guy. So why not? Like it's people that we need more people, like more influencers, if you want to call it that, more influence like Peter Denman in Muay Thai.
Yeah, and I think the term influencer kind of has like a negative, at least in our world, has like a negative touch on the tongue, because especially in Australian Muay Thai, man, you would have been on the receiving end of this as I have. There's a bit of like tall poppy syndrome. If you're front and center and doing for the sport, you get like a bit of they're not a real fighter, they're just doing it for the views, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But, people don't realise is that you're bringing attention to the sport, and that's exactly what Peter's doing. Yep. He's using the platform that he's got to bring attention to something that he cares about, but also our sport, to a whole range of viewers that probably aren't even interested in Muay Thai in the first place. Like, if you look at Muay Thai in Thailand as a whole, really, the only people who are really interested in it are, maybe like your casual fan who's just gotten into the sport because of one championship or RWS, or the like absolute obsessed gamblers or the punters of the sport. And that's really the only dichotomy of fans in the sport. But then you've got people like Peter or Antoine doing the stuff that they do and bringing a new whole kind of fan to the sport. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's important to have people like this who influence, rather than just people who are like content creators, but actually people who influence people's viewership or, actually bringing new viewers to the sport. That's the way I look at it.
I think for me personally, I'm not just invested because of my own fight career. So I like to bring I don't know, not that I'm the big voice or like a big educator on things in the sport, but what I do know, I do want to share to those that may not be aware of certain things, just like white crew or like, I don't know, like going under the ropes as a woman or just going through a fight camp as a woman or just like cultural significant things that are involved with fighting. And I'm doing that because I want to contribute in other ways to just my fight career, if that makes sense. So
yeah, makes sense.
not just making a career for myself, but just, like you said, contributing and like spreading a bit of awareness and interest.
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people.
yeah, 100%. I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think I've said this to you before. I get your point with a lot of people, like the old guard, you could say, are a bit not really too keen on influencers.
Yeah, fair.
But
I
let's
see
be
the
honest,
point.
man, it's the fight business. Everybody fights each other. It's not just the fighters, it's the trainers at the gyms, it's the gyms, it's the promotions, it's the press. Everybody's trying to be that person, you know. I mean, there is a lot of they're like jockeying for the right position, but that's just a competitive industry. That's just the way that I kind of see it, really, in a sense. I mean, what you're right. Everybody should work together. We should all work together. We've had this conversation before. Like, we all should sort of like come together and, try and aim for, all trying to achieve the same thing, but everyone wants to be that guy, unfortunately. And I think that's just the way it is in any sport.
Yeah, I do see your point there. It's about being front and center and controlling the attention. Kieran Walsh said this a long time. The longer you can control the attention in Muay Thai, the better off you'll be in the sport. And you don't want to be a gatekeeper, but you also want to look after yourself and provide for yourself in terms of opportunities and that sort of thing. As long as you're not like fucking people over, that sort of thing, you'll be all right. One thing I don't like.
What's that? Go on.
Can I tell you?
Oh God, tell us.
So recently, over the last couple of months, probably on the tourist circuit, is foreigners carrying on like.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been two very viral clips on social media. One was between, I can't remember, but it was between some Eastern European gentlemen and I think another Irish gentleman, and the Irishman won. And then the Eastern, he was celebrating in the ring before he went in wide to his opponent. And the Eastern European gentleman didn't like this, and they jumped over the ring and started bashing him. And then the Thais jumped in and started getting involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one where there was a gentleman from, I could only assume was from New Zealand or Australia, where he knocked out his Thai opponent and then stepped over him and was rejoicing in a very disrespectful manner. And eventually started getting pumped by the Thais in the ring. And these are two cases of foreigners acting like in Thailand. And I think this is something I don't like about the sport, especially the rise of it, is that people are jumping into the ring without knowing about the culture of the sport.
Totally.
And I think this is where people like yourself and I come in, where we have to educate these about how to conduct yourself in the ring. Just remember that this is not a Rocky Balboa movie. It is a sport.
Well, do you know what? Touching on that, back in April, my friend James fought Super James from Tida Gal Gal on the Sauce of My show. Big show. James did a long wide cruise. It was at Rajdamnern Stadium. There's a foreigner in the stands with a blue Kentucky t-shirt. It's probably from the States. During the wide crew, because Super James already finished his wide crew and was waiting for James to finish. James did quite a long wide crew because they had time to kill on the show. Guy shouts from the stands, "Hey, you suck! You suck!" And I'm in the blue corner, so he's on the opposite side, like corner.
What stadium was this?
Rajdamnern. At Raja, yeah. And I was shocked, man. I was shocked to hear that from a spectator, from a fan. But then I was like, "Oh yeah, of course it's going to be an American. Of course it's going to be an American fan that does something like that." But yeah, I'd say I do see where you're coming from.
Well, just to add on to that, Aaron and I were commentating on the Raja Knockout show a couple of weeks ago, on the very first one for Pride TV when they had the English commentary for it. And there was a girl who decided to lift her shirt up and show her breasts on the stream. And if you can remember from the bare knuckle fight where that Aussie girl lifted her shirt up, that was a huge problem. And I mean, inside Thailand, public nudity is a huge, it's a crime. You can get into serious trouble. And people need to know that when you're here, you can't act the same way that you can back home.
Yeah.
Maybe that is okay for a show in Western Sydney, in Blacktown RSL, when you're on a Friday night. But inside Thailand, this is still a conservative country. You cannot carry on here like you do back home. You cannot treat this place like you can back home, and people need to really realise that.
I think that's a good point, that people forget that it's a sport that comes from, it's actually an art form, not just a sport, that comes from a culture. So, you know, there are sports that originated as sports, but like we have culture really deeply embedded in Muay Thai. So even like, yeah, you see it in Australia and I'm sure other countries that are outside of Thailand, just like trainers and gyms that may not fully actually be aware of the procedures, like entering the ring. I don't know, everyone's a bit mixed about this, but like, you know, going into the ring with your moncon on, if you're a girl, like going under still wearing the moncon, and just little things like that. I guess if you're really traditionalist, you wouldn't be happy to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just remembering it's there's a lot of culture behind it. It's not just a sport. I know you like the sport aspect and the entertainment aspect, but don't forget where Muay Thai actually came from.
But I mean, like, I think sometimes we overthink it too much.
True.
Little thing, yeah. Going back to the Moncons on Friday, it was either Joe Natal or Superbon. They had to do a wide crew because they were main event on One Lumpini. One of them was wearing a t-shirt, so they had to take the t-shirt off, but they had the Moncon on, so they had to take the Moncon off. Their cornerman didn't do a prayer; they just took the Moncon off, and then like did a prayer and put it back, and took the t-shirt off and did a prayer, put the t-shirt back on. You know, it's little things like that where we would have probably got a bit funny about it, like, oh no, I can't take my t-shirt off and my moncon off, like, do you know what I mean? Not at the same time, because it's got to come off after I've done my Y crew.
Now, if we think back to it before really the inception of entertainment Muay Thai, you know, and when we talk about in terms of entertainment Muay Thai, high production value, 3-round Muay Thai, you know, the inception of Thai fight, really, like Thai fight is the great grandfather of entertainment Muay Thai. But recently, if you look at the level of One Championship, you know, they're kind of bringing a very specific product, right, with fighters t-shirts with sponsorship on it, you know, sort of trying to challenge the UFC a little bit on the way that they do things. Like if you look at kind of the model of business, you know, that's the way I think about it. You know, that's the direction the sport is going. You look at the way that Rajat Amnan has changed in terms of Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you've got Kiss Cam, you've got Flex Cam, you've got now what's his name, the new MC, I forgot his name, but he does the twerking in the ring on the S Power show and sometimes on the Tuesday show. You know, like all these things are trying to build the sport in a more kind of sports entertainment centered fashion. I think you're right in terms that we're kind of overthinking some of these traditional aspects. Maybe perhaps on like temple shows, stadium Muay Thai. And when we talk about stadium Muay Thai, Omnoi, where the punters are, that stuff, yes, because they don't enter the ring with sponsor t-shirts. But when it comes to things like One Championship or RWS, well, I mean, RWS, they enter the ring with, you know, their logos and that sort of thing. But we probably can't afford to overthink like the small nuances because we're trying to gain an international audience, right? That's the whole purpose of, in the way that I see our jobs, is trying to promote it on a global scale, you know, but still maintaining the essence of the Thai culture aspect of it, because we don't want to completely bastardize the sport to the fact where it becomes like a WWE pyrotechnics shooting out of people and that sort of thing. But, you know, we still need to maintain the cultural aspect of it, but still having a neatly wrapped product that we can sell to the global audience. And, Matt Lucas says it about what we really need to do is target the North American market. Because if you look at the North American market, the amount of corporate sponsorship that puts money into sport, that's the market you need to tap into. If you look at the NFL, the NBL, that's what you're trying to appeal to. And I think, unfortunately, with the amount of commissioning bodies that there are in all 50 states of the US, it's going to be a hard market to tap into, because I think I was talking to a WBC referee about this. We were having a long discussion about tapping into the North American market. Is apparently the UFC has got a big stronghold on something like 47 commissioning bodies.
Wow.
So that's why one can only go to like Colorado
or Georgia.
Or Georgia, and they're trying to put little blocks in, I don't care because I'm never going to work for the UFC. So,
you never know.
Well, you never know. Yo, Joe Rogan, get at me, boy. I'm Joe Bogan.
Hey, I'd follow along.
Yeah, that's it.
Haven't watched UFC in a long time, but I would if Joe Rogan was on.
Yeah,
you mean Joe Bogan?
Yeah, but I think that's a good point you really make. Is like perhaps we are overthinking.
It's sad though, isn't it, man? Like I was thinking about it the other day. You go back 10 years ago, you had these look at 5-round Muay Thai right now, yeah? The caliber of the fighters that you've got. There's how many fighters do you think that you've seen right now? You guys watch a lot of Muay Thai in Thailand. How many Pampayaks are there? How many Rod Tanks? How many Pet Boonchus are there? How many Yorvichas? It's not a lot, really, is there? The caliber of the fighters is really in the Thais for me is. It's not as good as what it used to be. Some of them are good. I mean, from our gym at Kiatsurit, you got Ritterdet, Saklek, Songchai Noi more on like the 3-round, like he's a one championship fighter now. But I mean,
Saw Deshpan as well, same sort of kettle.
Jalsa Yai, brilliant fighter, but not as good as what was it? What's his name? The kid that Ole. Who won everything. He won Raja Lumpini Channel 7, I think. Won all the big belts for Sordechpan. There's just not. It's quite sad, really.
I think Rob Cox made a comment on my Facebook post the other day. When the young foreign lad won the Channel 7 belt.
Yep.
The other day, and I made that big post about, is this the new era of the foreigner, or are we just seeing a lack of Thai talent being pushed through the stadiums now? And Rob made an interesting comment about how COVID has absolutely destroyed the 5-round scene in terms of the number of gyms. I think Pinky gave me a statistic last time I saw him. There were 10,000 registered gyms. I don't know if this is gospel.
I think this is true, man.
Yeah,
I think Boat from Indy said the same thing.
There was 10,000 registered gyms before COVID. After COVID, there's only 850 registered gyms in Thailand.
Whoa.
And if you think about the depletion of the talent pool, like if you've got a wide talent pool, right, you've got so much to choose from, and there are so many people climbing to the top to get to those top spots. But now that we've only got 850 gyms, and I would say a majority of those have probably at least got, even out in the provinces, have probably got 3 or 4 foreigners per gym. The level of Thai talent has definitely been depleted. It's like puncturing a lung in the local talent in terms of the sport. Is it a good, is it a bad thing? I think it's a bad thing because, this is where the sport comes from. And, I was talking to Arm about this, the Thais need to be the best at something and it should be their national sport. But now we're seeing a big turn of the tide. All right, whilst many foreigners might not be able to match the technicality, they're definitely a lot hungrier. That's for sure. and we're seeing more and more foreign champions filter through, even on the stadium circuit, likes of, Alfie, who's only been training 3 years and, creating a name for himself.
Topic?
Topic,
yeah.
Jaleel
Topic.
Barnes.
Yeah.
Jaleel Barnes was
Jaleel Barnes is the truth, man.
Yeah.
Jaleel Barnes is the truth. I've never seen someone fight like Jaleel, like literally fighting a Thai like he's the Thai and they're the foreigner. Fought a Thai, I think it was something Noi, like from Saw Samai, and I'd seen this kid fight before, and I was like, this is a tough fight for Jaleel on Noi. And he just schooled him. Left body kick, locked up as he got into the clinch. Left body kick, locked up as he got into the clinch. He is going to be like probably the best in our generation, at least in this era. I think he's the
best GOAT, man. And you know what? He's the nicest dude you'll ever meet. Like legit, like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. I had him on maybe 5-6 episodes ago, and honestly, the most pleasant episode I've done of Chok Muay Chats.
But I mean,
he's a great guy.
Going back to what you said about the gyms being lost, I think right now though, and I'm on the optimistic side of this. Like with the promotion, the two big promotions we got in Thailand on the entertainment value, on the entertainment side, one Lumpini, RWS, they can make real good money on that show, and they get 100,000 baht bonuses for knockouts. There's the tournament as well where they can earn good money. And even if they can't get there right now, they can look up to fighters like Riteradar, like Jodvicha, and be like, or Tananjay Sitompion, like, I want to be like them. And they've got somebody to idolise. Same thing with one Lumpini and one championship. Every single Thai that fights on there always mentions, oh, my idol is Dwanchai, my idol is Rodtang, my idol is, so-and-so, a big name in one championship that is Thai. Do you know what I mean?
So and they're showing it's still attainable.
Yeah.
Like, for them.
I think it is still there, but it's just seeing, like Rob said, Rob's right, it's just seen a real dip on the Thai side. And I reckon that those two promotions will probably lift it back up. We're not going to see it anytime soon. It's going to come over time.
No, and that's right. As we were talking about, so none of this stuff will happen overnight. And, we spoke about this before on the very last podcast that we did together, was the fact that football took over in popularity in terms of sport in Thailand. I mean, back in 1927 was when they legalised gambling for Muay Thai, and that's what popped up its popularity for about 60 years. But when football came in during the 80s and the 90s, that's what took over in terms of popularity, because I won't say too much about it, but there was a lot of like funny business going on with sort of popular culture within Thailand, and it really took over in terms of popularity because it was a more international thing. Even spoke about this, that it's international. Thais have this thing about wanting to be international. Now, I don't want to speak about it too much because I'm not Thai, but that was his words, that Thais have this thing about wanting to be international, and football was a real kind of danger to the popularity of Muay Thai in terms of taking over for the casual fan. So perhaps we'll see a rise in the next 5 years, and I think we're all working very hard to kind of make that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what the WBC are doing with the SAT and in these amazing Muay Thai masterclasses, Perth and now Calgary in Canada. There was one in England. Was there one in England?
Yeah, one in
England. So that these sanctioning bodies are trying to make the sport go global, and I mean, we want it to go global because that means more opportunities for people like you and me, yourself as well, more fight opportunities.
Yeah. More money into
more money in the sport.
Into the sport.
Yeah. Imagine I could go from a 2-bedroom condo to a 3-bedroom condo. Okay? Instead of a dripping air conditioner to a working air conditioner.
Well, at least you've set some goals, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what they say. Small steps.
It's good to have small goals, yes.
Now, I can't remember what the third topic what the third topic we were going to talk about was, but I suppose what we can do is we can talk about what you guys are up to at the moment in terms of projects, in terms of goals. Maybe we'll start with Dori, since
Yes.
you're over here in Thailand. I mean, we've spoken a little bit about this, about you can get a bit of sort of Muay Thai burnout
Mhm.
in terms of being a professional fighter. I think all three of us have felt that at a point in our fight career. Fighter burnout. You've
Yeah.
come over to Thailand to sort of get away from the fighter burnout and just
Mm.
enjoy Muay Thai for what it is. What's next for you?
I came here not with any solid plans to fight. It was just to pretty much fall in love with the process of. I think because I took a break from fighting. My last fight was February, so over 6 months now.
Mm.
And I guess I just got so used to I just went fully into the training mode, kind of PTing and teaching Muay Thai to the amateur fighters, I guess, or people that wanted to train with me. And then, developing the local scene, grassroots scene, being really invested in that with my energy. So I don't know if I really had a break because I was meant to have a break from fighting, but the energy just went somewhere else. And the intensity was still there and I was still super involved in Muay Thai. So kind of like how you guys, you don't fight anymore, but your energy and your passion still goes into Muay Thai. And so this trip has actually been the first time ever that I could just focus on just turn up, train, recover, train again. You don't need to think about I've got PTs or we're holding an event to for grassroots to kind of build up the scene. No, it's just just think about yourself for the first time ever. So because of that, I was keen to fight again. I started falling in love with it all again, and I definitely expressed my interest in I'm actually loving it again. If there's a fight opportunity here, I'll take it. But unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. So I think that was just a good sign to just love the process, love Muay Thai for what it is, for being part of my life, not because I have to train because of a fight. So that's been a really big takeaway.
I don't know what you're talking about. Every day I see her beat up our
I knew
our
that
head
was
trainer, and he's like, bro, she kicks so hard, and
No,
this
he
guy's
doesn't.
about 68, 70 kilos, and she bashes him every day.
He's talking shit. He's
Sydney
just being
style.
nice.
Sydney style.
Sydney style. That's how you guys roll.
Yeah, Sydney style. Hurus, bro. But no, it's good to hear that, because, training, fighting, training can get monotonous, but, it's important to take time away and then reassess and come back and just fall in love with it for what it is. It took me a very long time.
Yeah.
For me, holding pads is what made me fall back in love with it. And, I've tried to, over the last kind of 8 years, try and push myself to train again and have a fight, but just the love isn't there for that process
your heart
anymore.
Is somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's
my
still
heart
in
is
Muay Thai.
in helping other people with their careers, or at least promoting the sport on a global level, What about you? I mean, you've been doing LWC for a long time. You're now doing a bit of emceeing for boxing shows and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so all the stuff that I do, I mean, I get what you mean about the whole burnout. I got that when I was a fighter, but I've always been obsessed and in love with the sport. It is my life. I live for this shit. I absolutely love it.
You can tell. I haven't known Ali that long actually. I only met him on this trip, but you can see your passion for it.
Yeah, man.
When he walks in the gym, he's
man, it's
glowing.
I'll go.
Normally he's wearing a supporter t-shirt, but that's me today.
Yeah, I ditched all my
Who's
supporter
a better
t-shirts for
friend?
it.
Who's a better friend?
You need to get me to buy one off you. No, I mean it is. I live for it, man. I love it. I said this to somebody the other day. I love the fact that you could do so many things with it, and that's what I've done in my career. So right now, I'm not fighting anymore. I'm getting the itch. Not gonna lie, getting the itch to jump back in there and have maybe one more. But we'll see about that. Still training at Kits. Really want to push our gym. big time. I love it,
It's
man.
a very good
We've got
vibe.
such good vibe down there. I didn't mean it. I wasn't just saying it when I posted the other day. But there's guys there. Like I was clinching a couple of weeks ago, and the coach Liam was
Liam's
like,
amazing.
teach this guy this, and I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like I'd love to. And we've got like the 2 Spanish guys. We've got Gregor. Like I love like helping them like getting a little bit better. I'm not saying that I know more than the Thai trainers there, but I'll try and like get them to understand that's why they want you to do this. This is why you have to do that.
But I think it's a really nice environment where Liam, he's our head coach there. He's really open-minded and wants that. So like, I think some gyms, maybe foreigners, may feel if you're not a trainer there, like uncomfortable.
I think it's the way you approach it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in Thai society, there's a certain way you approach it. Instead of saying, I'm going to do this, you sort of say to them like, would it be okay if I did this, or can I help this person do that? So that's one of the things I'm doing. I commentate every Saturday on LWC Super Champ. We're going to be doing that together in a couple of weeks.
That's right. Yeah.
Do that with Kevin Amlid, who's runs Muay Thai Results. Great commentator. Love working with him.
Powerhouse in terms of knowledge of the sport.
Yeah, man, he's an encyclopedia. I do commentating as well on a boxing show with Jimmy Bowe, our good friend. Sometimes I MC that show. I absolutely love MCing, man. I love it. If there's any shows in Australia that want an English MC, like hit me up. I absolutely love it. Hopefully, you get to MC my friend Albert Xavier's show like one day, because he's looking to do one in a few years.
Me too. I like MCing too, but I just haven't had enough opportunities to do it.
They'll come though. But and then I also work for One Championship. I write the commentary notes for the commentators. So for Brian McGrath, for Gianni Suba, for Mitch Chilson, for Achilles Riley, I analyse all the fighters that you see on a Friday night. Get all their stats, like look at all their fights and stuff. I love doing that. That's like it's a really good like job for me. I also I produce the show on a Friday too, so I support the talent. So that's Nara, the commentators and front of house. I do that. I absolutely love it. Yeah, man, like do my own podcast too, the Muay Thai Experience, looking at sort of revamping that YouTube channel up and doing my own doing a few other things on it. Might pick your brain on it a little bit, Joe. Like you're really good at the content creation kind of side of things. Yeah, man, like look, like I am, like I said, so passionate about the sport, and the fact that I get to do it, make a bit of a living out of it, is just such a good bonus. I'm like sort of almost like doing what I love.
I think we were talking. I think when we first met, Ali. I don't know how you came up in conversation, because you just such a big name now.
Well, yes.
And but I can't remember. I think I was saying to Ali like, oh yeah, I know Joe from like we've known each other for a long time since back in Sydney. So I was like kind of on the undercard when Joe was starting his pro career back in Sydney. I fucking need to dig out. I did a PT with Joe before he moved to Thailand, and it was like I got swept on my ass and like taken to high heaven. Basically, I need to find
that was a long time. That was at that bloody.
That's how you sweep a girl off her feet, ladies and gentlemen.
That was at that gym in Ultimo, or
and give her a concussion
with that crazy.
Yeah, got Broadway.
South American dude. He was wow. I won't say too much because I'll get sued for defamation.
But basically, we were talking about. I was like, oh, it's really cool to see Joe now, because I hadn't caught up with you in years. I haven't been to Thailand for 6 years. You've been living here around that long.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
And then I was like, it's just so cool to see Joe. Like, he's not involved anymore in Muay Thai in a Muay Thai like in a fight capacity, but look what he's contributed, and look how he's still able to tap into his passion. And something that you said to that was like, well, something that they can never take away from you is loving the sport. And I just think that that's something a really important message.
And it's an interesting one, because when I first arrived, my whole plan was that I'd finish my fight career after the Joe Coverdale fight, and I thought, I was going through a bit of a rough patch, because I was trying to balance work, my master's degree, and my teaching practicums, which you have to do about 6 months in Australia of pure teaching practicum in it. So I went out to the country and just focused on that. And then after that, did my teaching for a year. And I was just focused on making money so I could get back to Thailand and restart my fight career. And then once I got here, I fell into the sort of trap of just chilling, drinking, just enjoying life. And then I sort of fell out of love with the idea of Muay Thai. And then I met a couple of guys that I was teaching with out in Minbury that were training Muay Thai. And I was training out at TC Muay Thai a little bit, where a lot of the Uzbeki fighters are from.
Yeah.
Uzbekistani fighters. And we're training out at
Orbitov,
training out there. And I'd known Matt Lucas for a long time, and we were still sort of in touch, and then he said, would you be interested in doing a bit of commentary? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a crash, and did one session. He's like, you can definitely do this, pursue it. And then kept going. And look, I do take the piss and say, oh, I'm the best commentator in the world. I'm not by any means.
Mate, you've improved a lot, man. Since you first started, man. Like listening to you and Eleanor the other day, I was like, great. Like this is like that. You've made like so much progress.
I think, and you can only get better every single time that you do it, and it's about turning up and taking it seriously, which I.
It also, and you all know this. It also depends on like who you're commentating with, because if they're.
I was about to say they're a good dynamic.
You've got a good flow with Eleanor. Like you guys worked really well. You didn't say the same thing. You both took it like it was good play by play, good colour. You gave us good information about the fighters, stuff that I didn't know about some of the fighters as well.
Yeah, she's a natural. She's really good, very good. And if she's watching this, we're always ready and raring to go just how she likes them. So if she's watching, she'll know what that means, and she'll hate me for it. But yeah, no, thank you, man. And I think it's important for, if you're not fighting, to still be involved in the sport. And I've done that a lot in my content about talking about fighters need to have a retirement plan when they finish fighting. Because I think what happens, especially in the West, you build so much of your identity about being a fighter, which I was definitely guilty of, is I'm Joe the fighter. But after that, you finish and you're like, oh, what do I do now, I think people do need to have a plan after and think about bringing the different skills that they have to pushing the sport.
No, I agree.
Where can people find you online?
Instagram, Dunk Buns. That's probably where you'll find me the most. So, yeah. Anything to do with, I guess, Oz Muay Thai, lots of food and coffee on there when I'm not in fight camp. That's it, really.
So my personal page, Ali McOnie on Instagram, and then my Muay Thai page, the Muay Thai Experience on Instagram as well. Give that a follow. And we've got a YouTube channel with it as well, the Muay Thai Experience. Hopefully going to get some more content out on it soon. So yeah, that's where you get me.
And of course, bang, 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 this is episode 27 of Chok Muay Chats. Sitting with me today is professional fighter Dori Duncan. I'm wearing the supporter t-shirt. And of course, Ali McOnie, my good colleague and good friend from Muay Thai Commentary. He commentates on LWC Super Champ and another range of different shows around the traps. Used to be one of the voices on Max Muay Thai back in the day. So definitely chuck them both a follow. Follow me, Joe Comerford Muay Thai. Like, share, subscribe. YouTube, Spotify. I'm Joe Comerford. Peace out.